All right, before I start this video, just a small disclaimer. I am not a mechanic. I'm a machinist by trade. And what you're about to see is only a guide. I don't guarantee any of its accuracy. Let's get to the video. All right, welcome back to Turnbull Garage. So today we're going to be carrying on with the transmission overhaul on this 2013 Ford Escape. And in the previous video you saw I got this transmission completely torn down, or so I thought. There's actually one more part that I've got to try to get apart. It splits apart and then it'll be fully dismantled. So we're going to go through that real quick. But more importantly, I've got all the parts and pieces have come in to put this transmission back together. And I have figured out what was actually wrong with this thing. So let's get into it. So the part that I've actually got to dismantle further is this here. There's actually a clip on here, and this part does come apart. There's some O-rings inside here. I believe there's another piston inside here that I've got to replace. So this I've got to try to take apart. I might involve a press to press it down, remove the ring, and then take the innards out. That remains to be seen. And as you see here, I've got some parts all cleaned up. The case is all cleaned up here. But the problem that was wrong, what was wrong with this transmission actually was what caused it was the torque converter. The torque converter, internally, there's a piece of metal pressed in with some splines into an aluminum housing, if you will. And that looks like that started to spin internally, ground the aluminum. That's where the aluminum came from inside the case. And it also, it was losing all its power. So, and making a terrible noise. So the torque converter, this is a new torque converter sitting here that is ready to get put on when I get to that point. And yeah, so, oh, one more part that I got right here. This ring that was broken on the return piston return spring, I think they call it. I got a new one of those from Ford. So in this box, I've got all the parts and pieces. There's some new pistons in there, new seals, valve body components, ball bearings, all that stuff. So this thing is ready to go back together. Unfortunately, my microphone died, but what I'm showing here is I removed the circlip, or a little retaining clip, off of this center hub. And then now I'm using the screwdriver just to very lightly pry the piston out. It should just pop out in a sec here. Yeah, there we go. So the piston's out. And then underneath the piston, there is a sort of a spring return plate. I guess you could say it's a bunch of little mini coil springs holding the piston there. Now I'm just showing its oil. You never get rid of the oil in an automatic transmission. And so to get this little next piece out, what I did was I hit the hammer, my mallet, on that little round part right there. And by hitting it that direction, it actually makes the inner part pop the opposite direction. It's a neat little trick. That's how it works. So anyway, the reason I take this off is there's a couple of O-rings on here that need to be replaced. So this is the last piece to come apart. So I'm gonna start cleaning this up and start assembling this whole thing together. All right, so we got this all cleaned up, minus the pistons here, which come with the kit. So I'll put those down here. And the new clutch packs, what I have to do is actually soak these in oil before I install them. I've read online, it looks like you should store for about a half hour, soak them. So I'm gonna get some oil in a pan, soak these in there. And yeah, these old ones, I'll just clean up the steels and start putting them back together. All right, so I've had some discs soaking in oil here, and it's all taken apart, and I'm going to start now replacing all these O-rings on there. There's an O-ring inside here and these 3 O-rings here. Okay, so I got all the O-rings on the outside of here, on there, and on the inside. This one on the inside is a bit tricky. The nice thing about these O-rings is they're not actually O-rings. They're kind of a flat O-ring, so you can tell if they're twisted or not. You want to make sure they're not twisted, obviously. So the next thing I do is going to take some transmission assembly lube here and just put it all around this piece here on these rings so that it'll slide in nice. All right, so that popped in quite easy. All I did was take a couple of screwdrivers and just applied equal pressure down, and it just popped in. So that's good. Next thing I'll do, just wipe a bit of this excess grease off of here now. Or assembly lube, it's not grease. We'll drop our spring in, and the next thing is our piston. So I will put a bit of sliptivity on here. Now this is the part that's going to be tricky because I need to get this snap ring in here, push down on this, and work that snap ring in. All right, now that we got that all in, the clips on, next thing I do is just start assembling the outside here with the clutch pack. So we basically have to feed this ring into this top plate and then lift it up and it'll snap out. All right, that wasn't too bad. Next thing is to put our piston on here. So we'll get some more sliptivity. Put our spring up like that. There's another O-ring here to get some stuff on. That should just press down. All right, I just worked that on with my hands. Next thing is this. Again, I don't know what these parts are called. All I know is the order they go back together. This little cover plate here. There's a little tab on here. It lines up with the little groove in this part. I'm going to press that on there. And yeah, around that seal here. It might be a little bit tight. And then there's a retaining ring there. The video I watched, the guy said don't press it too hard, especially if you're using a press, obviously, because you can break that tab off. And I'm not in the mood to break anything, so let's see if we can work this on here. There we go. Okay, I got this ring in here. All I did was basically went onto this bench isn't very strong. It's just a rolling bench. I went on my old, more solid table, and I pushed down really hard on this to compress that spring. Got it worked in, worked its way all the way around, and then it just snapped into the groove. So with that done, the next thing to do will be press this shaft in, or pop this shaft right here. Goes this way, like that. And I got to put that little tiny retaining clip right here. That's got to slip over. That goes on, and then this piece over here will slide on, and my next set of clutch packs will go on. All right, I was able to just use my fingers to put that on. It was a bit of a challenge, but hey, everything is on this. So next thing is this little thrust washer, and then this piece here. Oh, don't tell me. Oh my God. I can't believe I did that. This has got to go on first before you do that. You know how hard it is to get that snap ring off? Holy crap. That sucks. Okay, got this back together. So the next thing to do is install these clutch packs inside here. All right, there we go. This piece is now fully assembled, ready to install. Next thing is start assembling the main part of the transmission. All right, so the next thing is to start putting this together. I've replaced the seals around this thing, so now it's the actual guts of it. So first thing I do is replace this piston. This is the new one here, and there's a ring that comes off of here. I'm not really too sure how it comes off. I think it just comes off the back side here. All right, see how this comes off. It's pretty easy. You just pry this piston off here like that. There you go. There. So let's press this on all the way around. Just like that. Some sliptivity here. Now this can only go in here one way as well. I'm gonna slide that piston in there. There we go. Okay, so it's actually the next day and carrying on. I just watched a video of the rebuild, and one thing I'm gonna do, I think you have to remove this part to put the snap ring in, and then this snaps in after. So I've just popped that out. I'm gonna slide this in. Get this to snap in here. Okay, I got that ring in. You got to hammer it all the way around to get it seated right back into that groove. It's actually a bit of a pain, but it's in there. Next thing I'll do is push this in. This should snap in. And I believe the next is a bearing right here. This little bearing, there's a couple of small tabs on here that go into corresponding tabs, the plastic side down. The next thing is this, and I'm just going to lube up the inside of this a bit. This should just slide in here. Like so. With that in, there's a thrust bearing in there. This should be the next part. All right. This one goes in next. And then this one's next. All right, after that, steel. Okay, now put in a disc. Another steel. Make sure I get this right. A disc. Another steel. Next is the sprag assembly, which goes all right. Next is this gear assembly. Couple my bearings. Okay, next is this gear cluster here. Should just drop in there. There we go. Sun gear. There's a bearing. Where's that bearing? This bearing. Okay, we got another plate. We got another disc. Clutch disc. Yeah, there's different size ones. This should be the right one. There we go. Steel. Clutch disc. Another steel. The disc. Another steel. And a cushion plate. All right, the next piece to go into here is, I think they call it the center support. And this is the part that had the broken ring. I talked to a transmission guy. He said, yeah, you definitely need to replace that, because if it broke once, it's going to break again. these can shift around, and then the next thing you know, you've got major transmission problems. So I've got a new one here. So this is going to be a challenge. So all you got to do is take these pistons out, press the new pistons in, push this washer on, and then slip this this retaining ring and the snap ring on here. And this is probably going to be the hardest part of this whole process is this. So I don't know if I'm going to bother recording it. Maybe I'll do time lapse here. All right, I almost gave up on this. It was very challenging, but I managed to figure out a way with a couple of screwdrivers and some perseverance. I managed to get it on actually without damaging anything. It went together well. But you got to press this spring down and work this washer in behind this retaining ring. It's just really, really difficult. So anyway, I marked which way was up on this with these two little punches. So let's put this piece in. So you figure out which. Oh yeah, it's easy to figure out. These two holes here line up with the two holes here, which come in from the valve bodies. So that's easy. Something's holding it up. What is going on? Actually, I think that is. No, it's not sitting flat. This plate's in wrong. Ah, I think that's what it was. That plate there was in wrong. I think it'll go now. Yep, there we go. Bearing in there. This is going to go like this. Okay, now we got a cushion plate. Oh, there we go. All right, let's put the last clutch pack in. We're getting there. This is gonna go like that. Come on, get on there. There we go. Steel. All right. And the last thing is this big snap ring. I expect to be a bit of a challenge. All right, next thing I'll do is the parking pawl. Bearing here. So I got to try and get this chain on here. So the chain has got some colored links on it. The colored links go up, facing up. So we'll see if I can get this on here. There we go. And this gear goes on here. The rear differential. This goes on here. There we go. That's more like it. Oh, Jesus. All right. All right, this little thing here goes on. You spin it till that locks in. Press our new seals in here. We'll spin this around here, and we're going to throw our speed sensor in. Want to make sure we put this in before the valve body goes in or you'll be upset with yourself. Speed sensor. Actually, I think just about ready to throw the case together, but now what I gotta do is assemble the other half of the case and get ready to drop it onto this, and then we'll start dealing with the valve body. So push this over to the side here and bring our other case up. All right, so the next step is, before we put the cases together, I've got to put the oil pump together. So I've already cleaned this up, but what we got to do is put the oil pump gears, if you will, inside. And what I'm going to do is give these a little bit of grease just so that they don't wear at all when you start it up. They need a bit of, and it'll help the gears seal when it comes to the pump sort of priming itself. So I'm just going to put a little thin coat on these teeth. Drop that in. This is the important one. It's got the little dot on the top, so you need to make sure that goes facing up. Then the oil pump housing, or whatever you're going to call it, these two are going to go together. There's a little dowel pin. I've already cleaned all the spools and everything up. There we go. So this has got a million little Torx bolts to go in. I'm going to pop this oil seal out of here. Right there. Pop the new one in. Get that little wipe out. I don't have a tool to do this. I find just a socket works quite well. That flush. That's pretty much got it. Looks good. All right, flip this over, and there's a seal's got to go in here. That's it. So this just presses into the hole here, like that, and a little circlip holds it in place. Come on, get in there, you bugger. There we go. Little tap, it'll tap in. There we go. There we go. That's it. Okay, we got a new O-ring. Oh, one more thing. Very important thing. That's the oil filter. It's crazy. The only way to change the oil filter on this transmission is to remove it from the vehicle and break the transmission in half. This only goes on one way here. Like that. Oops. There we go. All right, before this goes on, there's one more part to put on here. And with that, the transmission is ready to bolt together. And after we bolt it together, I will be putting it off to the side and actually then starting out to open up the valve body. But I want to get this together. That's the vast majority of this put together. And yeah, so I'm going to get some silicone, and that's the next step. All right, I thought I'd show you how this parking pawl works. So basically, there's this lever here. That's where your shifter linkage is connected to, and then that makes this go up and down. There's a little spring bar in here that's not in here. But the interesting thing is what it does here. Push this down. You can see how it moves this little thing into the, and that's what keeps your car from rolling. So when you pull it out of park, this spring pulls this thing out, and you drive away. And then when you put it into park, so all it is that little bit of engagement right there. Okay, picked up some silicone here. Let's put this case together. All right, we got that silicone all on there. Just slide this over here and lift the other half on here. Where's that gear? There it is. This is bolted together, and now we're going to work on the valve body. So let's push this over to the side here. All right, that's going to do it for this video. This is actually quite a large process putting this transmission back together. At least it is for me. And the video is going to be quite a long time. So I'm just going to break it here and put out a second video that's going to be wrapping this transmission up and, you know, starting to get it back onto the engine. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Thoughts and comments down below. Yeah, have yourself a great day.